On Friday, we had this so-called trade truce between U.S. and China. U.S. has confirmed a trade deal, China has confirmed it. But what are the details? Do we exactly know what's in the details?
I mean, to be honest, we don't have a lot of details on that. So it seems like this deal is basically trying to address the urgent needs from both sides, right? I mean, for the U.S., they really want all those rare metals for the manufacturing. While for China, they want the access to the chips. We are not even talking about the low-hanging fruits. In my opinion, the low-hanging fruits is like your 20% drug-related tariff, but that hasn't really been touched. So to me, this discussion is more like addressing the urgent needs rather than anything about low-hanging fruits, anything about tariff. I mean, hopefully, we can see more discussion on the tariff part, which is more important going forward.
What would you like to see for you to think that a meaningful conversation or a meaningful deal has taken place?
Yeah, I think to me, I'm looking at this low-hanging fruits part, which is the 20% drug-related tariff. You know, last week, China has already tried to show some kind of the gesture, to ban some of the chemicals. I mean, hopefully, with this kind of positive gesture, maybe China can bargain down this 20% tariff. At least we can have a better ground to negotiate with the U.S.
China has leverage, doesn't it? Because it is dominant in rare earths.
That's right.
And it's using it to its advantage. But if China gives access to rare earths, what does it get back in return?
At least it seems like, number one, you can get some kind of access to the chips and to some kind of the technology. Number two, you're also buying more time for your domestic economy to try to recover as well. Because, as you know, previously we talked about 100% tariff. That's really quite bad for the Chinese economy, in particular given the low inflation scenario. So I think China is kind of buying the time, hopefully with more pounding from the policies, we can see more sustainable recovery so we can weather the external shock. Yeah, so the timing is important for China as well.
Okay, so while this is looming on the trade front domestically, as a Chinese consumer, you need to kind of spend to reinflate the economy.
Yeah.
How is all this weighing on Chinese consumer sentiment?
Well, I think, as you know, consumption is a function of three things, right? Number one is your income growth. Number two is your income expectation. Number three is your wealth effect. So far, I think we don't see all those three things. Income growth is slowing. Income expectation is quite weak. And there's not much wealth effects from the property and equities. That's why I think for now, to me, in the near term, there's two things we can watch for. Number one, are we going to see the stabilization of the property market? Number two, are we going to see the measure can really boost the equity market, which you can create a wealth effect, so you can translate to more consumption pattern or more consumption confidence. I think this is something is important going forward for China.
Is there stabilization in the property market, though?
To be honest, we haven't seen the concrete evidence yet. We do see some recovery in the first quarter, but going to the second quarter, it seems like it slowed down a little bit again. So I guess it will take some time for eventual rebalance between the supply and the demand. For now, supply is still high, demand is still weak.
It's a little bit of a fine balance, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, you want the property market to stabilize, you have to manage your monetary policy in such a way. Is there anything else? What other options can Beijing pursue? What other options can PBOC use
I think
in its arsenal?
To be honest, I think nothing much to do with the PBOC at the current stage. So I think one of the big solutions I can think about that is really about the structural reform. So one of the structural reform, in my opinion, is how can we give the rights to all those migrant workers? Because we know in China there's a huge group of people, we call them migrant workers. They are living in the city, but they are not entitled to all the benefits, whether being your buying the house, being the kids' education, etc. We have 270 million migrant workers. So if you are able to give the rights to those migrant workers, you think about that, that's the 207 million people who might want to buy the house, who want to really spend in the city, right? But of course, that could be quite costly. Some people estimate that will cost China 100,000 per person. You think about that may create additional 27 trillion debts. But if you can, over the next 5 years, every year you got 5 trillion debts, it's still doable. That's why I think, to me, one of the key solutions maybe for China is really on the migrant worker part. How can we give the rights to those migrant worker part?